was a lot easier for me today just to use the truck to pull this tree from where I cut it. And if you're wondering where this tree come from, I've done a video back right before winter, I believe, showing me cut this walnut tree down. I'll put a link over here to it. And if that doesn't work, then just check the video description, or at the end of the video I'll try to put the link there as well. So regardless, if you're interested in that, you can go back and watch me cut this tree down. This is a black walnut tree. And what I've been doing today is clearing off the concrete pad behind me where the kiln is going, and that's a whole other series of videos there. So that's all we're going to say about that right now. But just a short video today. I've had a lot of questions from people asking me how I decide how to cut my logs, and pretty much cutting them to length in the tree. And I do it I do a whole lot different thinking behind it, besides what you would see a regular commercial logging outfit do or a commercial sawmill doing. It's a whole lot different method here when you're a business like mine, and I call this kind of, when you're not really sawing for grade. With walnut, you're trying to buck the log because you're sawing for figure instead of grade, because you're wanting to capture the figure in this crotch wood. And we'll do a measurement here of this complete tree, and I'll show you how I buck the logs and what lengths and the reasons behind that. So I can't remember your guys' name that asked this in the past. You have to forgive me, but anyways, this is the answers. First thing I do, of course, I cut the tree down and I go up to where the limbs start out, and I cut that away and try to capture any crotch that is there, especially in this walnut. Then I get my Spencer's logging tape, and I just do a rough overall length here on what kind of dimensions I'm looking at here in the log. The thing about these Spencer tapes, if you're not familiar with them, I think they're 50 feet long, if I remember right. What does it say on here? I believe it's either 30 or 50, more so 50. But anyways, it's got a nice little horseshoe on the end here, horseshoe nail that's been bent for driving into it, so you don't have to lose your grip when you start pulling the tape. Just use your axe here to give it a little tap in. That's all you got to do. It's pretty handy. $24 I think is what they cost brand new, and all the parts are replaceable. All these working mechanical pieces in it you can get, and this thing lasts you a lifetime that way. You can just, something breaks on it, just get the piece instead of buying a whole new tape. I think I got 2 of them. Something I need to start doing on this channel when I use an axe is kind of let you guys know what I'm using. This is a Grand First Brooks small hatchet. It's the first, probably the first high quality axe I ever purchased. And this is the original handle that came with it, and I've used it a lot, and it's still just as tight as it was the day I got it. This isn't the original sheath, however. This sheath right here was made by Ben Orford over in England. He's a bushcraft guy that makes a lot of knives and all kinds of stuff. Y'all might be familiar with him. I'll put a link to his website below. He's got a YouTube channel also. A lot of good content on it. But they come with the sheath, but Ben Orford, he just makes a great sheath. And I was getting a carving knife from him anyways. That's why I ordered this to go with it. Good stuff. Our total length is right at 24 feet total for the entire log. 24 feet. Now, something very important you want to do on your log, regardless of the length, 6 foot, 8 foot, 12, whatever, you want to leave it a few inches proud of that. So I try to cut mine about 4 inches over the total length to allow for squaring up the ends later on after drying, and also in case you do develop some end checks, about 4 inches will usually get rid of them. They usually don't go deeper than that if you put a lot of anchor seal on there. So it'll go about 4 inches total over your length, and that gives you 2 inches on each side. Some people do 6 inches. You can do either way you want to. I do 4 inches because I think that's plenty. But you can do 6, you can do whatever you want to. But I found that 4 inches is more than enough to allow for the defects on the side to trim them off. Now here's an overall shot of the log. As you can see, it's pretty straight. Goes over right here just a little bit. Has a good sized taper to it. And then it's pretty straight for the total length of this bottom here, which is good. Because we're going to shoot for 2 good sized logs from the bottom and a shorter log from the top for the crotch figure. Let me show you something here. Most commercial logging operations, or around here at least, they would cut this tree right here and get two 8.5 foot logs out of it, and this taper part and this crotch, it would be pulpwood, or they just leave it in the forest to rot, or for firewood, whatever their operation does with their leftovers. So that's really not a good idea, because your most valuable wood out of this tree right here is this top log with the crotch figure. You know, crotch figure you can get between $9 and $15 a board foot if it's really nice and intact and solid, compared to about half of that, a little bit less than half of that, just for regular lumber from the bottom. Now there is 2 logs from it, so that is a good amount of lumber they get from it, but there's no need in wasting this stuff right here. Or something else they would do, they would come below this knot and below this crotch here, because it's not straight, and they would cut it right here below here and get a 3rd log this way, maybe just have about a 7-footer. I don't know what, you know, depends on whatever sawmill is that they take them to and what they buy. Because pay attention whenever you see log trucks on the highways or the back roads, and I would wager that you will hardly ever, if ever, see a log on there with a crotch in it. Nothing but straight logs. Bigger sawmill operations don't want nothing to do with stuff like this. They're all about quantity and all about production. But this right here is what you're after right here, this crotch. I mean, you guys seen in past videos what it looks like when we saw this stuff out. And you could go behind logging operations and probably get this stuff for free if you talk to the guys, because they're gonna, like I said, they're gonna leave it laying in the forest, or they're gonna push it in a pile and burn it. Something else I've noticed here, this will be the 2nd log right here. You can see this obvious bump right here. Now it could have been a cat's face in there. That's a term for some damage to a log. It looks like kind of like a cat's face. I don't see that. I think this might have been a knot or where a limb used to be years ago, and it came from a pretty tight forest here between me and my neighbor, so it might have lost that limb and healed itself over with this bark. And look for things like this when you see a bump like this. This is not a defect either. Your normal commercial sawmills and logging operation guys will consider this a defect as well, and they'll cut below it and above it and leave it in the woods. And this right here, I'm willing to wager right in here will have some very nice grain to it. Probably be a lot of crotch figure in here where this limb used to go this way, and the grain went in both directions. So this is, you want to keep an eye out for stuff like this and watch for it, because that's high dollar right there. Very good stuff. There's no defects in walnut unless it's raw, in my opinion. Now, based on what we've looked at here, we will get 3 good logs out of the tree. This top one with the crotch figure will be a 6-footer. I'm not going to say 6 and 4 inches. When I say the length, just assume that there's going to be some cut off in the end of it. Hopefully here in a few weeks our kiln will be up and running, and I can get back to sawmilling finally, because counting these 3 walnuts here and what I've took down lately, I think I have close to 90, maybe 100 walnut logs to start sawing on. But we'll do this one first, just because I'm going to be kind of curious about that swell back there, if there's any crotch in it. And this video will be fresh on your guys' minds, so we'll refer back to it when we do it. So anyways, that's how I'd look at a log. Walnut more specifically than others, and I bucket for figure. I don't bucket for grade. When it comes to oak and stuff like that, that's a whole different ball game there. But walnut is really my bread and butter for the most part, so that's what I'm showing today. If there's any interest in that stuff later on, we'll talk about that when we come to it. But and most of your basic hardwood trees, other than maple, it's usually 8.5 footers, 12 or 16s, and you're not really looking for a lot of crotch wood in them, or at least I don't. I like to quarter saw my hardwoods. So anyways, if this video was helpful, leave me a comment below, and we'll see you in the next video. And one more thing, I got a few extra large t-shirts left on my website. I'm wearing one here today, if you've not seen them yet, and go in there and buy one if you get a chance. I'm sure they'd look good on you. On top of that, if you do have one, take a picture of it, send it to me, and I'll put you on a video in the future showing people wearing their shirts. And you guys at Patreon, I appreciate your support, and it really helps out here, and gives me motivation to keep making these videos.
Yes, I do it all. Sir, I wouldn't change a thing. All these years I thought that I had lived, but I hadn't. And now I've got the best of friends. These are the best times of our lives. Picking tunes and getting stoned. Their kids are gonna pass us on by, and we'll be packed away on the shelf and long gone. Well, times is tough, I won't lie.